Thank you. I was going to start off with talking about the fact that we don't have the 30-year shipbuilding plan. I'm sure somebody else would do that. There are two things that I wanted to get to, though, and one obviously is would not be unexpected. The USS Gerald Ford. I think most of us around in this table here have been down there, have walked it, understand it, but we're also fully aware that that ship, the original plan to deliver the ship was September of 2015. The ship was going to be delivered fully capable at the cost of $10.5 billion. Now the projected full delivery of the ship would be April of 2021, the cost being at $13.2 billion. So, Secretary Modley, today's your lucky day. You get to make a next prediction, and I'd like to have you kind of share with us where you think it is right now. It's my understanding that a lot of the things, it's not just the elevators, we talk about those, but also the catapults, arresting gear, the radar, and I understand now that the non-skid situation is taken care of from visiting with you in my office. But kind of go over where we are today, what your predictions are, and when this is going to happen.
Senator, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Ford. I think the history that you laid out about the Ford is it's not a good history, and it's one that we should never allow to happen again. It's not the way that we should be delivering ships to the U.S. Navy. That being said, we are where we are with that ship, and one of the first things I did is, as the acting secretary, was to basically put the fleet on notice that it's all hands on deck to make that ship ready for sea and ready for a fight if that's what we needed to do. So we've taken several proactive steps over the last several months to get that ship ready. A lot of this work was going on already, but one of the main things we did is we moved the two-star admiral who's responsible for the PEO for all carriers. We moved him to Norfolk to basically be there. It's symbolic, but it's more than symbolic. It requires a lot of attention to detail on many of the things that were lacking on this ship. I've been down there twice since I've been the acting secretary, once as a surprise on my second day, just to see what it's like, and I didn't want any admirals there with me. I walked around, talked to the crew, got a good sense for where the ship was, and I also rode the ship in after their last short deployment where they went out and did aircraft compatibility testing. It has been night and day for me in terms of my perspective and my perception on what's happening with that ship. They've made substantial progress on the elevators. The elevators that are working and certified, I think there are 4 of those. They've done thousands and thousands of cycles with those with no problems. They launched close to 1,000 aircraft and recovered them with no problems on the EMALs either. So significant progress. And the most encouraging thing to me is walking around that ship is talking to the crew. The crew loves the ship. The way the crew and how their jobs have changed, several of them coming from a Nimitz-class carrier to this carrier, it's completely changed the way they do their work.
And I understand that, and I also talked to the crew, and it's those are their feelings exactly. I wanted to get one more thing in my time here. In a recent interview, you stated, quote, "I don't know if we're going to buy any more of the Ford class after the CVN 81, which would be the 4th one. We were certainly thinking about the possibility of other classes." Can you elaborate on that statement?
Yes, sir. I think we have a duty to look at what will come after the Ford. And the fact that we made a 2-carrier buy for the last 2, it gives us some breathing room. It gives us a few years before we would have to award the next one, which would be in the 27, 28 time frame.
Okay, that answers the question. General Berger, on the CH-53K, which would be replacing the CH-53E, we're familiar with the cost of this thing and some of the overruns, and I'd kind of like to get an update in this brief period of time from you as to where we are, why it's really necessary, and just give us your opinion on that.
Thank you, sir. The requirement for a heavy lift helicopter remains valid. In fact, probably more valid in the and the adversaries, the competitors that we need to face, and where you want your forward Marines, you have to have the ability to move that force around and its sustainment from ship to shore or shore to shore or back to ship again. So we have a valid requirement. A year ago, the 53K was in a different spot. We had both technical, as you know, engineering problems and cost problems. Today, much better place engineering-wise, technologically. It looks like a 53E on the outside, but like you know, you pop the hood, it's a completely different aircraft. Everything from the exhaust gas recirculation to the other 100+ engineering challenges we have either solved or Sikorsky's has a solid path forward. So I'm very confident that the aircraft is on the right trajectory. Now it's a function of cost, as you pointed out, sir. Both procurement and the cost to operate that.
Why does it cost more than an F-35?
Pardon me, sir?
Never mind. No, I was making a comment that it costs more than F-35. When you're talking to the general public, they don't know much about they know about the F-35. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So why does it cost more than an F-35?
It's a brand new fly-by-wire aircraft.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Senator Reed.